Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome in to episode number 38 of our WWE 2021 Save in TEW 2020. This is SmackDown for week 2 in September. Of course, SmackDown, a little ways to go till its next pay-per-view, as it'll have the branded pay-per-view of No Mercy in October. But on the Raw side, we are getting close to Unforgiven. But for SmackDown, a road to No Mercy, and then, of course, Survivor Series. But we got a lot to get to in this episode of SmackDown, and before we hop in, I put out the video before about doing the new save on the channel, and just to clarify, like, we are not stopping the WWE save here. We are just going to add another save that will be much less sort of extensive. Like I mentioned before, we'll be doing what is right now seemingly going to be a 1998 save based on all your responses. That'll just be more of a once a week, maybe twice a week at most type thing we do, but this will still be the primary save on the channel, so don't worry, anyone. The WWE one is still going to be the IT save here on the channel. But let's jump into SmackDown. We start with the pre-show. It is Dio Madden and Baron Corbin getting a win over Cedric Alexander and Alberto Carrillo. 52 overall, not great, but something I will note here, and you'll see this on the show. Announcing quality lift the match, that's because we actually have, as the announcers, are going to be Michael Cole and Corey Graves, which, of course, is our announced team on Raw now after we made that switch from Jimmy Smith to Michael Cole. There are still some things in the works that I'm thinking of doing on the announcer front. I mentioned that, sort of teased it on the last episode. We're just trying to figure out if we're going to actually be able to make it happen. So that's something that's in the works. But for now, we're going to put Cole and Graves on both shows. I have no problem with that. So you'll see that throughout, and we'll see. I think we'll get a bump out of some of these things just based on having those two who have excellent experience together. But I still have some things I want to try to accomplish with the announcer front. But that's where we're at for now. So pre-show match, Corbin and Dio Madden get the win here. Now we jump into the main show. It's going to start with a big segment for our friend Roman Reigns. And it starts in a great way, 86 here overall, as great stuff from Reigns, Jimmy, and Jay here. It is a meeting of the bloodline as they are at Roman Reigns' table here, and it is Reigns meeting with the Usos, and he says he's got all this stuff going on. The Rock is here now, which is he's going to address later on in the show, but he says he doesn't want that to distract anyone from the fact that these two guys are losing matches, and he wants to know why they lost the WWE Tag Team Championships to the New Day at SummerSlam. And even though they bounced back with a win last week, he wants to know why they're ever losing a match. And that does not sit well with Jimmy and Jay, who are kind of, just wondering, well, why just now are you getting to this? We lost it, after SummerSlam. But Reigns says that he does not want to be associated with a team that is losing matches. And even if they are the bloodline, he is a winner. And he is the person that owns the universe. He's the head of the table. And he wants these guys to get it in gear. So Reigns sending a message to the Usos here that losing the tag team titles did not go unnoticed. Even if he had his hands full and was distracted with The Rock, he did not. He was very, very well aware that they lost the championships. So basically, they don't really have a response here to what they said. So he sends them out. So the Usos walk out, and they walk right into Mick Foley, who struggles here going off script. This is disappointing with a 68, but we rarely get that with Mick, so yeah, just one of those things. Foley sees the Usos walking out of Reigns' locker room, and Foley says, hey, guess what, Jimmy Uso? You're going to go one-on-one with John Cena tonight in the main event of SmackDown. So John Cena is back here after, losing at SummerSlam. And now he's back, and he's going to go one-on-one with Jimmy Uso in the main event. So we come right out of Roman Reigns telling the Usos he doesn't want them losing matches, to now Jimmy somehow has to defeat John Cena in the main event. And so Foley having a little fun with that, and clearly the Usos not happy at this development here, with a lot of pressure on them from the head of the table. And that leads us into our first match here, which, despite both being really off their game, that's very unusual. We don't see that often. Still gets a 73 based on probably Bray Wyatt's overness. It is Bray Wyatt starting off the show here with the win in 7:35 over R-Truth, using that mandible claw, which I'm sure Mick Foley is very happy about. But it is basically, Bray has pretty much said that his journey continues. He said that on the last episode of SmackDown, and now he comes out, gets the win over R-Truth. Just another sort of dominant performance from Bray Wyatt after beating Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam and then beating him even more after the match. So Bray Wyatt gets another win here, and then the camera goes to the back, and we see Drew McIntyre, who is just sort of sitting, a very blank stare from Drew McIntyre, who's watching the monitor. He sees Bray Wyatt out after he won his match, and Drew McIntyre just sort of sitting there. The video monitor doesn't really know what to say, and one of the interviewers just walks in and asks Drew what he's thinking about his loss to Bray Wyatt at SummerSlam. And Drew's just sort of silent until he says that really all he has to say is that losing to Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt attacking him after the match, he thinks actually may have beaten something into him and that it made him rethink some things about his career moving forward. And so Drew McIntyre with a very sort of vague response here to losing that match to Bray Wyatt. The first time we've seen him since that match at SummerSlam. Drew McIntyre doesn't have a whole lot to say, and the interviewer tries to ask him more questions, and he doesn't really say anything. He just kind of sits there and looks at the screen as Bray Wyatt, is in the ring after his victory. So a very interesting development here as Drew McIntyre showing some different sort of personality traits. Clearly, that loss to Bray Wyatt did something to him, and perhaps we will find out what that is pretty soon. 87, great segment. And then, a lot of people performing poorly on this show here. As Bianca Belair said last week, she was ready. She wanted her next challenger. She's ready to fight. Like, she's a fighting champion. And Bianca comes out. She's in the ring, ready. She's like, hey, I'm ready for a match. And she didn't really much spell that out last week, but now she's saying, I'm here for the match, and let's go. And so it is Bianca Belair waiting, and here comes Naomi. So Naomi comes out. She accepts the challenge. And she will face Bianca Belair one-on-one here in this match. So Naomi performing poorly here. I think we didn't script this because Bianca, as we've seen, has been on quite a tear lately with her segments, not scripting her at all. But we just had to kind of roll the dice here, take a chance. Naomi didn't perform well, but it is what it is. Let's see what we get out of the match between these two. And a 62 overall. So it is Bianca Belair successfully defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Naomi. Naomi off her game here. Everyone is off their game on this episode. We're going to have to do something with SmackDown. We're going to have to kick it into gear here. But we do get about a 15-minute match, as it is Bianca winning. Bianca just clearly much better performance in terms of in-ring. Naomi benefits from the groundswell public support, so that probably helped a little bit with the rating. But not a great rating, not the kind of ratings we expect from Bianca, but it is all kind of to set up something else that we actually are going to have in the future. And it's to set up something right after this match, which I don't know if it's going to get a great rating or not, but we need a direction here, and this is where we're going. It is Alexa Bliss who comes out, Bianca celebrating her win over Naomi in the ring, and Alexa Bliss making her first appearance in our save. She comes out, attacks Bianca Belair, beats her down to the mat, 64 overall, not great, but we do have Alexa now, and this is sort of the continued evolution of our roster, which you guys know I've talked about over the past couple episodes. Finally sort of starting to get the roster the way that I want it, and you can probably have a pretty good guess of where this is headed, but it is Alexa Bliss coming out to attack Bianca Belair, and we're actually going to handle the gimmick changes, which right now, Alexa is the evil gimmick, which is considered awful. We're going to change that to Evil Doer. There's a difference, right? Like, there's got to be some kind of difference on that. Let's see if it works out at all. Okay, so initial rating of great. So that does very well, and we get the bonus of losses do not hurt momentum as much as usual. So Alexa's back here. We clearly have some plans for her in place, but we were just kind of in a holding pattern with Alexa. We didn't really have anything to do with her, and I didn't want to put her out there just to put her out there. So she's back, and clearly we will have something going on between these two in the future. And then it is Sami Zayn. This is a good one. Sami Zayn has an interview with Pat McAfee, who, again, not on commentary. He struggles going off script. He never does that. So everyone is just, this is one of those shows that we're going to look back on and think, man, this could have been a great, great show from a rating standpoint, but everyone is struggling. So that does not help at all. But it is Sami Zayn getting an interview with Pat McAfee, and Zayn, conspiracy theorist that he is, wants to know, why is John Cena getting another main event? All John Cena has done, he's come back, he's lost in the main event at SummerSlam, and now he just gets to trot back out 2 weeks later and have a main event here on SmackDown. He wants to know, Zayn wants to know, why is he not getting these opportunities? Why? Because John Cena, is in the pocket of WWE. Like, it's all a conspiracy. Everything is against him, and Zayn just keeps going on and on and on, and Pat McAfee has to actually stop and say, actually, Sami, you've got a match coming up here right now. And Sami's like, I had no idea he had a match. And so there's another conspiracy, and McAfee lets him know that he will be facing SmackDown's newest acquisition in the trade with Raw, which sent Mustafa Ali to Raw, and in return, SmackDown gets Sami Zayn's opponent, which is Ricochet. We had to get Ricochet off of Raw because we know Stone Cold Steve Austin hates Ricochet. Sheamus hates Ricochet. I don't even remember who else hates Ricochet. We had to get him away from Raw. So I was thinking, when we made this trade for Ali, who makes the most sense? Well, it had to be Ricochet because no one on Raw likes the guy. So let's see if that continues on SmackDown. But what we do know is that it's a pretty solid match here. 70 overall. Good stuff from these two, which you would expect. But it is Sami Zayn getting the win over Ricochet. 12 minutes. The Haluva kick gets it done. Ricochet still benefiting from that hot new move. We get the crowd buzzing. So this really worked out very well to move Ricochet over to SmackDown. And in the first match, we get a pretty good rating here. So I'm happy about that. And I just thought it would be entertaining to make Ricochet the other party in this trade, just because we know we've played it up on the save, how much Austin hates Ricochet and whoever else, Sheamus and whoever else it was. I can't even keep up at this point. So we get Ricochet away from them, and perhaps that'll help him on SmackDown until we start getting emails that Mick Foley, Roman Reigns, and everyone else hates Ricochet. So we'll see if we get to that point. And now we get ready for our next match, which is going to be an Intercontinental Championship bout between Keith Lee and Apollo Crews, the rematch. Samoa Joe, we see him sitting in the crowd, in the front row here, waiting for this match to start. Now, Samoa Joe said last week that he came back to destroy everyone. He's back to fight, and, well, he's going to sit back and watch this fight that we have coming up for the Intercontinental Championship. So Joe teasing something here. We don't know exactly what, but clearly he has something on his mind here as he gets ready to watch this match, and let's see what we get from it. A 67 overall, not bad here. Would have liked it to be a little bit better, but we'll take it. It is Keith Lee defeating Apollo Crews, 19 minutes, so I gave them some time on this one. I wanted to see, because when you look at their stats, actually, both these two guys have some really good in-ring stats, and that's why I think this would have been a lot better if they weren't both overness. I think is like around 60, so they outperformed that in a sense. But, a little bit more overness, I think we could have a better match here. But it does go 19-10. It is Keith Lee successfully defending the Intercontinental Championship against Apollo Crews. And, I'm okay with this. Like, I think this is actually a pretty decent match. We did pace it to where it begins slowly, works to a big finish. Because, again, their skills kind of supported that possibility on that. So we did do that. But I think that, we've got some stuff in the works here for Keith Lee as champion. Apollo Crews isn't going to go anywhere. And you just saw we kind of teased some stuff with Samoa Joe. I really think we got some good stuff in the works here with the Intercontinental Championship, and I like having it on Keith Lee. And I think it's going to be kind of fun to watch this progress over the next couple of months with the programs we have in mind here for him. But a good match here, and we'll see what happens with these two coming out of it. And John Cena, backstage, cutting a promo. He just ignores anything that Sami Zayn says. Cena said he has no desire to respond to Sami Zayn, but he does say that his loss to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, he was just not the better man on that night. And he says that's not going to cause him to go anywhere, though. He's back to prove that he's still the best, and he is still chasing that elusive championship record, and he is not going to stop until he reaches that goal. So Cena kind of another mission statement here, basically coming out of SummerSlam. Even though he loses, he's still got a big goal in mind He wants to break that record for most world championships, and that is his goal. But for tonight, his goal is to go out and take out Jimmy Uso. And so good promo from Cena. You're getting good ratings with that, with Cena anytime he talks on the mic. So let's go to the main event. And not great here, 66. Not what I would have wanted. I would have wanted much better here, but match deserved better announcing. Well, that's unfortunate, but it's okay, as it is John Cena getting the win over Jimmy Uso in 12-18 with the pin, and it was because Jey Uso tried to interfere. We kind of played it up earlier. All this pressure on the Usos coming out of that big meeting with Roman Reigns, and it was Jey trying to do everything he could to help Jimmy, but in turn, botched interference allows Cena to hit the AA and get the win over Jimmy Uso. Just, kind of disappointed by this rating here. I would have expected it to be much better, but just did not work out. Looks like that we have the announcing quality penalized for very low experience. So that is unusual, because for some reason, I think that, let's see if we can figure this out here. Okay, so that's what happened. So we had Pat McAfee and Corey Graves were on commentary here. So what I did was I switched it to Michael Cole and Corey Graves, we talked about. They were on commentary on all the others. It looks like I may have actually made the wrong switch on this, because I had to do it manually. Once I got in and I tried to save it, I think you have to save it like before the turn of going into the actual show. And I don't think we saved it before that. We saved it afterwards. So I had to go in and manually change the announcers on all of this. So it looks like I just picked the wrong person. It looks like I got confused and picked Pat McAfee and Corey Graves on commentary just for this match. I know I did it right for all the other ones, because we would have got the note if I didn't. But, well, there you go. We can blame this one on me. It's going to happen every now and then. But 66, so that's why it probably got a little bit lower. I assume this would have easily gotten into the 70s had we had better announcing and had Cole and Graves on that. But my own mistake by picking a Pat McAfee, Corey Graves commentary. Boy, that would be something to listen to based on those two bickering back and forth. That would be something. But the real story here is Jimmy Uso loses, and something tells me Roman Reigns probably not going to be too happy about that. John Cena getting the win on that one. So speaking of, John Cena heads out. Jimmy Uso dejected in the ring from losing this match, and that brings out the head of the table, which is Roman Reigns, and we get an 84 overall here. I know we picked the right announcers on this one. Corey Graves and Michael Cole. It's just a fact that Roman Reigns is Roman Reigns, and he's going to automatically, having such a high rating, we usually get this on his segments anyway. So Roman Reigns comes out, and he says that everyone wants to know, what's his response to The Rock? And Roman Reigns says that all along, everybody knows that he was waiting and saying he wants him delivered. He wants him delivered. And it wound up being The Rock. And, well, if The Rock thinks that he's just going to come out and tell Roman Reigns when he's going to defend his Universal Championship, he's wrong. And so Roman Reigns says he did want The Rock to come back. He did want The Rock delivered to him, but it's going to be on Roman Reigns' own terms when they decide to fight, and he says absolutely not. He's refusing the challenge from The Rock, and so that throws a little bit of a twist into, I think, what many may have believed, the direction we were headed in, and we'll see if we still get there, but for now, it is Roman Reigns saying that, you know what, Rock, I appreciate the challenge, but I've got other plans in the works for you, and he refuses it straight up. He says, no way, not right now, not fighting The Rock for the Universal Championship. That brings out, oh yes, Mr. 100 strikes again. Roman Reigns, the best. Brings out Mick Foley, who says he is no longer going to sit around and let Roman Reigns make the decisions around here. And while he will address the whole situation with The Rock in the future, Foley says he's tired of watching Roman Reigns come out and pick up a microphone every single week and do absolutely nothing but think that he is in control of SmackDown. Well, next week, Foley's going to prove that he's not in control of SmackDown, because Roman Reigns will defend the Universal Championship next week in the main event of SmackDown against Damian Priest. And that gets quite an eye from Roman Reigns, who is not very happy about this whole scenario here. And so Roman just kind of looks at Foley and gives him a very angry look, as it is Foley trying to take back some of the power from Roman Reigns. Now that The Rock did make his comeback, Foley basically went face-to-face with Reigns. Reigns was about to attack him at SummerSlam, but Foley's not backing down anymore. He is taking back his control as SmackDown general manager, and while he will figure out what to do with Reigns and The Rock, for now, he's going to make Roman Reigns prove that he's an actual champion, and that's why next week he will defend the championship against Damian Priest. So we've got some exciting stuff in the works. I'm very excited about where all this is headed, but I am excited about the possibility. Roman Reigns, Damian Priest, big main event next week on SmackDown. A perfect segment here. Even though Foley looks dreadful, we still get a perfect segment. I mean, Foley dreadful, but it's perfect. 100. Incredible. So there's SmackDown. I do think that the overall rating, 78. So not one of our great shows, but we got a lot of things in motion here. And I do think we have something where we still gain some popularity. So that's good. But we had some good big segments, and we set up a lot of things here, a lot of things for the future. And we did get some pretty good matches out of it. I mean, I think pretty overall, like, this was a pretty solid show, but we talked about it. We had several people off their game. That didn't help. But the main event stuff certainly pays off. My own bonehead mistake on Cena and Jimmy picking a Graves McAfee commentary team instead of manually inserting Cole in like I did on all the, or Graves and Cole like I did on all the others. So that was just my own fault. But good show here, and I think we've got some big things brewing for SmackDown. And I think that, I'm really excited about what's going on here on SmackDown. And some of these match ratings I think will start to get a little bit better. But I was happy to get, a solid 70 out of Sami and Ricochet. We know Cena and Uso would have did better. But even Bray Wyatt, 73 there just for a kind of a throwaway match with R-Truth. So, Bianca, Naomi, like we were trying to do some stuff there. And so I'm pretty excited with how this SmackDown played out, aside from, we had the Intercontinental Championship match too. But aside from the people being off their game, I'm excited with how this played out. Let's see what we need to get to before we wrap up this episode. All right, so we got some stuff to get to, and you guys are going to just be ready, because I think this is going to be very entertaining about what we're about to get to here. So, SmackDown, strike gold. We always do it, right? That's what we do. It is worth noting that Ortiz, let's find it here. His contract is expiring in AEW, so that's an interesting one we may actually have to think about. So we know that. I'm going to leave that up there because that's an interesting thought, and we'll see what that comes of that. Michael Hayes has an opinion. Do you guys want to guess what that opinion is? Ricochet doesn't connect with the fans. Oh my goodness. Everyone hates Ricochet. Just everyone. What is going on? We make the guy move to SmackDown. Michael Hayes is still there as a road agent, but it's like everyone just hates the guy. I don't know what we're going to do here. Where do we move him now? I guess we have to take him back to NXT. Then Triple H already hates him, doesn't he? Didn't we get that at one point? So I don't know what we're going to do with Ricochet. But I just find it so comical that we talk about hyping up this big move, and then what do we get? Michael Hayes hates Ricochet. Good to know. All right. Drug testing fees. What an incredible experience for Ricochet. 5.31 rating. That's good to know. Hatred. Oh yeah, we had a divorce with Tessa Blanchard and all that. So I don't think we still had that in there. As we know, Bobby Lashley has retired. I will address that on the next episode for Raw, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because I know people have asked about, well, wait a second, he just lost the championship. Is there going to be anything from that in terms of retirement? We'll talk about that on the next episode. I've got some things in mind on that. There are some extensions and some contract negotiations to be had here. I will not let you guys in on that, as I really don't know. I haven't checked that, but I don't want to check it yet. There may be something that's spoiled. I don't think there is, but I think these are probably just extensions for people who had contracts expiring in a company. But there you go. There is a look at SmackDown, and as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will, on the next episode, get into Raw for Week 3, as we're now only a couple of Raw episodes away from Unforgiven, and I will talk more about starting up the next save, which, like I said, at this point, pretty good idea. It's going to be 1998, based on all the feedback, and we will do another video on that at some point here, probably over the next week or so. And then we'll get that save started pretty soon as well, looking at 1998 and whichever company we decide. Certainly going to probably be WCW, just as a spoiler, but, could be ECW. We'll see, but probably going to be WCW 1998. We'll talk about that on the next video as well. And then, again, next one will be another big episode of Raw as we continue the march towards Unforgiven.